Today, we're going to dig into a pretty radical idea about why some parts of the world stay poor, through a lens we're calling the machine of poverty.
So let's just jump right in with a big, provocative question. What if the poverty we see in the world, what if it isn't some tragic failure of a broken system, but is actually the intended result of a machine that's working exactly the way it's supposed to?
To really get what that means, you've got to look at two totally different stories. On one hand, you have South Korea. Its economy is like a learning machine, always growing, dynamic, constantly fixing its own mistakes. And then you have Cuba, an economic landscape that feels like it's been frozen solid for decades, just stuck in stagnation.
And this number, it tells you pretty much everything you need to know. By 2019, South Korea's GDP per capita just rocketed past $30,000. I mean, that's an absolutely monumental success story.
So you have to ask, why is there such a huge gap? Well, if you look at it from a systems engineering point of view, the answer is kind of chilling. Think about it. If a machine cranks out the exact same thing for 50 years straight, you don't call that a bug, do you? No, that's the design.
And that realization forces us to look at the whole problem differently. To really understand why a country stays poor, maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe we need to stop asking, what's broken, and start asking something a lot more uncomfortable. Who is this actually working for?
Okay, so this machine we're talking about, it runs on 3 key gears. Let's break down the first one. It's called a bad explanation.
Now, a bad explanation isn't just any old excuse. It's way more clever than that. It's a rock-solid story that's designed to be impossible to disprove. And its real job isn't to explain what's happening. Its real job is to act as a shield, protecting the regime from any real criticism.
And Cuba? Well, Cuba is a masterclass in this. For literally decades, anytime something goes wrong inside the country, the regime points the finger at something outside the country, the U.S. embargo being the classic example. By always blaming someone else, they never ever have to take responsibility for the system they've built.
So the official story you hear from the state is all about these world-class free services for all citizens. It sounds amazing, right? But what's the actual reality for the people who have to live there every single day?
Well, how about this? A doctor in Cuba, one of the most important jobs in any society, earns a state salary of just $25 a month. 25. Medical supplies get used over and over until they literally fall apart. Food is strictly rationed. That's the reality.
And what happens when a system refuses to fix its own errors? People vote with their feet. During the Mariel boat lift, over 100,000 Cubans risked everything, their very lives, to get out. That's not just a protest. That is the ultimate vote of no confidence.
This constant state of defense, of blaming others, it leads us right into the machine's second gear, the deliberate cutting of feedback loops.
So feedback loops are absolutely vital. Think of them like the nervous system of a society. They're how a system feels pain, like economic problems or public anger, and then adapts to it. But in a system that's designed to stay stagnant, those nerves are cut. On purpose. And hey, just a quick but really important clarification here. The systems theorist who really pioneered this way of thinking is David Deutsch. Some sources might say Carl Deutsch, but it's David. And that distinction is actually key to the argument we're building.
So what does it actually look like when these loops are gone? Here's a chilling example. In Mozambique, the median age has been stuck right around 16 years old for over 70 years. 70. Think about that. The population as a whole is structurally unable to mature. It's a huge sign that the system itself just cannot learn.
And the economic picture? Just as stark. Mozambique's internal savings rate has been stuck below 10% for years, while similar nations are averaging over 20%. When you don't have your own capital, you become completely dependent on foreign aid. It's like all the alarm bells are ringing, but the system is deaf.
Okay, let's get to the final, crucial gear that really holds this whole machine together. No skin in the game. You've probably heard this term, made famous by the writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb. The idea is actually super simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It just means that the people making the decisions have to live with the consequences of those decisions, the good and the bad. But in these stagnant systems, it's the exact opposite. The elites, the people at the top, aren't just insulated from the chaos they create, they often profit from it. They become what Taleb calls anti-fragile. The more chaos there is, the better off they are. So how does this work?
It's a playbook called the rentier state model. Step 1. The government gets its money not from a productive economy, but from foreign aid or selling off natural resources. Step 2. The elites capture that revenue for themselves. And step 3. The public is left to absorb all the risk. When the hospitals collapse or the food runs out, they're the only ones who pay the price.
So when you combine these three gears, a bad explanation, no feedback loops, and elites with no skin in the game, what do you get? Well, it brings us to a really stark conclusion. This is poverty as a business model. This really forces us to rethink the words we use. Calling a country like this a developing nation is just misleading. It's not developing. It's being held in a carefully managed state of stagnation.
And that leads us to the unavoidable, central thesis of this entire explainer. For the elites who are profiting from this whole arrangement, poverty is not some tragic accident they're trying to fix, it is the business model.
It's a pretty sobering thought, but it's a necessary one, and this channel exists to understand why.